Got a lot of good energy in the room already.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Office Hours. Nick is very excited about the energy in the room. If you missed that, hello, hello. That was one of my favorite things that happened. If you see that little button pop up that says your internet connection is unstable, Nick is calling in from his phone.
Oh no, it does. They're not gonna get that, are they?
It did pop up for just a second there,
Oh
but Nick is calling
no.
in, having
I'm tethering
some.
off the phone. Internet is down in the neighborhood.
Yes,
I had to do whatever I could to get here on office hours, baby.
we're doing it live today, guys. It is completely live. And hello, lots of friends in chat. Ritesh, our
What's
friend
up,
Katrina.
everybody?
Nick is here, not you. Well, I mean you're here, but
Yes,
I'm here
we
as
got
well,
another
and the
Nick.
other Nick, yes.
Awesome.
And Diego, nice. So what's up, everybody? Nick, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi guys. I'm Nick Longo. I'm coming to you through my iPhone tethering connection. Let's keep our fingers crossed. I'm based in Los Angeles. I'm a graphic design branding agency person guy, and I teach as well at Cal State University Northridge. How about you, Andrew?
My name is Andrew Hochradel, and I am a brand designer. Um, and do education as well as a lot of online streaming here for you guys. So we are going to be, I'm working on the audio issues that we're having, everyone, just a heads up, we are on it.
Yeah.
Today we are going to be talking a little bit about office hours, and about something very special that is coming up next week. So make sure you stay tuned.
Oh,
Nick, I'm going to go ahead and put a
yes.
slide up, and have you talk a little bit about what is coming up. And while we do that, I'm going to try to fix your audio. So take it
Yes.
away, Nicholas.
Are we talking about our topic today?
We are talking about the what is coming up next for office hours.
Oh, for office hours. Next
Yes.
week we are kicking off season two, fall semester. It is going to be basically our entire semester of office hours with great like homework and projects and really cool stuff that you guys are going to be engaged with. We are setting up all of the back end of it right now and getting really excited about it, but it starts next week.
Yes,
So
so I'm very
can't
excited.
be
So,
more excited.
yes, set your calendars next week, at 2:30 Pacific Standard Time. That will be the new time for office hours, and we are starting the fall semester. So, very, very excited. We'll show you a little bit about a little bit of that branding, coming up
Yes.
at the end of the show. So make sure you stick around for that. If you're just joining us, Office Hours is a show where we give you advice, we give you some perspective, and hopefully some tools to step up your game, your portfolios, your work, whatever you're working on within the creative industry. You also, at the top there, can submit your work using the hashtag Adobe Office Hours on any social media, and that will go into our pool, which we will review. And then you also can check out the social medias for Nick and I that are up at the top there. All right, Nick, would you like to talk a little bit about what our topic is today, and what we will be talking about?
We are going to talk about something a little different today. We're going to talk about creative thinking for non-creators. Again, perfect timing with the gardeners outside. Sorry for the
Yeah,
distracting
that's how
noise.
it works. That really
But it's
is.
basically how to solve problems. How to, this is our life, man. How to solve those problems with creative solutions. So it's a little out of the box, but really, really fun. Can't wait to dig into this.
Absolutely. And Nick, can you keep talking for just a second about literally anything?
Yeah, I'm gonna let's
There we
go
go.
right
We
into
got
it.
it.
Our first
We
slide.
got it, y'all.
Why
We
don't we
got
do
it. We
that?
are back.
Is
The
that better?
audio is fixed. We're
Perfect.
looking good. It looks like we might have a little delay between us now. So, like,
Woo!
we're doing this live today, guys. All right. So let's hop over and start talking about our topic, and that is creative thinking for non-creatives. If you are a creative in here, this is for you as well. But this is something that maybe if you're working with a project manager, if you're working with someone, that is just using Creative Cloud for organization or trying to address problems, I wanted to talk about kind of the mindset behind how we think as creatives and how that might apply to non-creative things. So let's go ahead and hop into our first point. And the first point here is this, is that iteration is your friend. What that means is if you do it once, try it 3 times. Always try to improve and approach the problem in different ways, whatever that might be, right? That maybe it's something, and this is the dumbest example, but maybe it's something like you're at a party, they've got one of those like little like lemonade and it's like dripping on the floor, that it's like, oh cool, let's put a cup underneath. Oh man, that's still splashing. Let's put a plate. Okay, the plate feels like it's still splashing too. Maybe some napkins on there, of addressing and trying different solutions to that same problem as you iterate to make it better and better each time. So my perspective on that is to try until you fail. So keep exploring options until it doesn't work, and then go back to one of the ones that it did work, and that might be the best solution. And it will almost always give you a better result to try new things. Nick, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's like conditioning, right? It's like when you do something over and over again, it becomes more habit. It becomes more, you get used to it. It's like memory, muscle memory in the same way. Same way when you go through something in your mind and how you're processing something, you know?
Exactly.
Good
Yep.
tip.
Go ahead.
I'm good. Go for it.
Okay, cool. Got it. All right, cool. So the next point up is creative thinking, is examine existing systems and then create your own. I actually love this one because for me, I love doing research and I love grabbing context. So if you are trying to solve a problem, are trying to create a structure, look at staying currently. Then, once you have all those pieces, try to twist and shift it to be something of your own, right? Maybe you're going into school, right? And you're just about to start, you're going to do the online, and a class is structured in an online way to where there's videos and there's lecture, and you're supposed to, do this video and then watch this lecture and then go do the homework. Maybe once you understand how that system is set up, you can then create your own system to address that, to experience it, and to get more maybe out of that class than you would just following what the professor or teacher's structure is. Figure out what your own system is for that and how that might work. So you have to understand how things work before you can make them your own. So you can't just jump in and be like, I'm going to do my own thing. That doesn't work. That will end in disaster. You really want to jump in and think, okay, here are the things that someone else wants me to do, that are the structures that exist outside of my context. I need to understand that and then grow so that I can inform what that structure is for myself.
Perfect. I think
Yep.
you're building off of somebody else's success too. Like find a plan or a roadmap that somebody else has done and kind of figure out all the bits and pieces. Like that's your way of like learning. I know sometimes when it's something new, you want to see what an expert has done or what someone has done to kind of figure it out and dissect it and then look at it and say, what can I do to kind of fill in the blanks with whatever I'm trying to solve? It's just learning from the best. I think that's a great way to look at it.
It really is. And we're going to continue on here. Nick, can you do me a favor? Can you drop out and then drop back into this call? It looks like there's a little bit of delay happening. So I'm going to go ahead and take off your video for just a second. If you can drop out and come back in, that would be great. And I'll continue on here. So the next point with creative thinking is that we need to explore what it could be, not what it should be. This is the number one thing that I talk about in a design process, in doing a paper, in doing copywriting, UI, UX. Whatever it is something that it could be something else, right? So I want to talk a little bit about the idea of associated cognitive barriers. And Nick, we are back. Hello, welcome back.
Thank you.
There we
I
go,
think we're
much
better
better.
now.
No delay.
Good.
So what I like to do here is talk about associated cognitive barriers. We're talking about what it could be versus what it should be. So associated cognitive barriers are this. Nick, if I say I want you to create a chair for me, what elements have to be in that chair?
uh, the legs,
Mm-hmm.
the sitting area, kind of the level,
Yep.
the back support.
Yep. Yeah, so those are
How am I
all
doing?
examples. Yeah, those are exactly what I wanted. So those are all examples of associated cognitive barriers, right? And what that is when you're addressing a problem or you're trying to create a system, what are the things that jump into your mind immediately? What are the things that people are associating with that without you having to think about it, right? And you want to say, cool, that's probably what something should be, right? That someone's saying, hey, I
Yeah.
want you to do A chair, again, right? Nick, you're like, oh, it should have these things. But what if it could be one of those chairs that's actually a hand? What if it is a bar stool? What if it is, a different kind of chair? What if it's a hammock, right? That there are so many options of what it could be,
Yeah.
that we don't want to get stuck on the idea of what it should be. Nick, any thoughts on kind of exploring that?
That's kind of interesting because the could be opens it up to things that you might be thinking that are more blue sky, right? Just like you
Yes,
said, you think the typical, but think the exceptional. Like I think would have never thought hammock, right? Or the way you kind of put it in that kind of that word. So the could be is like I always love that blue sky ideation of something right before getting into the real part of a project because you're thinking so much more clear and open, and you might just come up with the best idea that no one else maybe has. You know,
exactly. Yep.
great originality comes out of that kind of thinking.
Yep, and for those of you that are going back to school, this is a great thing to
Yeah,
take into your projects. I remember in college I had to do a paper on Edgar Allan Poe, and I thought, cool, something as small as write a paper. That it's something that's non-creative. It's you're literally just writing a paper. But I tried to focus on what could this be versus what
yeah,
should this be, right? It should be Times New Roman, 12-point font, like following AP style, in a little folder, like stapled together or whatever. And I thought, what could this be? And ended up mounting the pages to like a parchment. I burnt all the edges. I
nice.
turned it in like wrapped in a scroll with a black candle in the middle, so that like it had like instructions of like light this candle as you delve into the unknown. That it's really exploring what could this be? How do I further that
Hmm.
experience? And how do I push myself to think more creatively about something that might not be that creative?
Yeah,
So chat, if you've ever done that, if you've ever taken something that should have been something and turned it into what it could have been, let me know in chat. I'd love to hear those stories or things that
yeah,
you've kind of explored. I think we've looked at it a bunch of times. Narek's, uh, it's Narek, right? That did
yeah. The
the
pizza,
Little Caesars.
Caesars.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's such a great thing. Of like, oh, we're doing a skincare product. What should it be? It should be like light and airy and fun. What could it
yeah,
be? What if it was pizza? It's really
yeah.
really great.
Exactly. Yeah, and
Um,
those become more memorable too, right? Like you
yes,
bring it up all the time, so it's like that's the tactic to figure out if you're trying to figure out that thing that's going to be memorable or seen or saluted in some way. There's your answer. You know?
exactly. Yep. And it's that idea of, the conversation afterward saying, "Oh, I would have never thought of that." That's what you want. You want that on the other side because that's the goal, right? If you would have thought of it, that means that you're
Yeah,
just in a zone of what it should be. You're stuck in those cognitive barriers, but pushing beyond that, if the audience is responding with, "Oh man, I would never thought of that. That's such a great solution. That's so creative." It's because you've pushed beyond
yeah,
what they thought it should be and they've opened their mind into like, oh man, it could be something totally different.
yeah, yeah. Great.
So moving right along, is the next point is ask why, ask why, ask why. I have it 3 times here because it is so important. And what I basically mean here is that you have to ask yourself and your collaborators if you're working on a group project, if you're working with a professor, if you're working even within a class, why are you doing this? Why are you trying to push it? Why are you trying to solve the problem in this certain way?
Yeah,
Because if there isn't a reason, then it really doesn't matter. It's something that you need to define for yourself. So if there isn't a
yeah,
reason, define one. If you can't define one, then it doesn't matter. Then you need to
yeah,
kind of move on to a new solution. So this really is the way that I like to address creative problems, and even when they're non-creative problems, is why is this a problem?
yeah,
Why am I going to
yeah.
try it this way? Why am I taking this next step?
I like how you said working in collaborations because a lot of times, if I'm sure you've done this as a teacher too, when you put a certain group together, the whole reason you do that is then the why is how did you collaborate? How did you exchange ideas? How did you compromise and do? It's not maybe so much that the end result is the why, it's the experience of going through it. So
Yep.
imagine if you were to discover the why at the very beginning. Now you're so much more focused on the how beautiful it's going to come out because you've worked as a team or you've done something great successful together. So that's the perfect example for me is like getting into a team that makes so much more sense as to why.
Yep,
you
yep.
know?
And we're going to talk a little bit about that, about like working as a team dynamic. And again, that's something that may be coming up in the class that we're launching next week
Hmm.
for the next fall semester is finding community, finding other people to take this class with you, to join in for the full semester. We're going to have homework assignments and stuff that you guys can engage with each other and use some of these tools, right? And that maybe
Yeah.
you are someone that is an accounting major that somehow is on YouTube, that somehow found this, right? That you're not the designer. It's something that you can jump in and start to understand how to approach problems and how to better set up your career for a creative solution to problems that you find. So moving next is be inspired by everything, and this goes into that. Is that
Yeah.
there are so many inspirations from things that are not design, right? They're creative in their own way that don't overlap with UI UX, video,
Yeah.
photography, any of the stuff that we look at on this show a lot. Look at going to a conference about botany or history, and now that everything's so accessible online, literally do research, find a free event,
Sure.
and then go in and be like, cool, I'm going to learn about like the advancements in cell structure. Why not? Because that will pull you out of,
Who
again,
knows what it will do?
who knows? Yeah, that'll pull you out of what you
Yeah.
think you should be learning, how you approach problems, give you new perspective, and that's really the best part about
Yeah.
solving problems is your perspective.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of like just nature or anything that you can do. We're so digital and we're so everything we do is, so based on what we're touching and technology and everything. Sometimes the best inspiration comes from nature stuff and even snapping pictures and doing things like that. I find one or two times I've even been inspired by like certain organic things that became logotypes or went right into some of the work that we created.
Yep.
It's just by you're right. It's like you got to open those doors again to something that maybe other people aren't looking at. And this is a great way to get inspiration from it.
Exactly, and grabbing things that I think that emotional visual communication, we've talked about this a couple times, is that if you can communicate an emotion, then that's really the goal. And
Yeah.
emotions are the things that tie all of these different disciplines together. Whatever major you are, whatever you are studying, it's the underlying emotion, right? That you want someone to connect with a topic, that you want them to feel excited, that you want them to feel interested. And so going into these, I went to an organist once, and he was playing his organ. I was like, this will be cool. And he talked about how the organ is one of the only instruments that, like, when you hit whatever the thing is, it will just sustain forever because of the way that it works. That is, you don't have to
Oh
have,
yeah.
like a plucking, or you don't have to like have wind into it. It literally, you hit the button and it sustains forever, and it just gives you this power and emotion that you can't achieve with other instruments. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Listen to the like power of an organ. How do I incorporate that into typography? How do I incorporate that into a
Yeah.
logo mark to have that weight and like that gravitas? So be
Love that.
inspired by other things that aren't design, and it will help to level up your creative career. And yes, Ritesh
Perfect.
says, I so agree with this. I think most concepts are derived with something which isn't relevant to design, but having knowledge about different disciplines. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um,
Well said.
Yes, this is one of my favorites. There's a great talk by Marion Bontales. It's a TED talk, I believe that's her name. And it's a really great talk just about being inspired by things that are around you that are,
Yeah.
she says that inspiration is cross-pollinating. And I think that that's such a great way to think about it.
Yeah. I love it.
So next, and this is where I'm talking about a little bit more of a team dynamic, right? If you're working on a group project, it's be a zombie in the group project, right? Nobody likes a person that doesn't do any work, but what I'm saying is be a zombie, right? If your role in this and the way that you function as a non-creative, as someone that maybe is a part of a
Hmm.
project that has a unique perspective, if you function that you're quiet, you're not the one that's jumping in with ideas, that's totally fine. And be the zombie, right? That it seems like you're dead for most of the time, and then at the end, you like rise from the
Yeah.
grave and you're like, hey, here are all the things that I've been processing and synthesizing. And so if that is you, that's really what I love. So anytime that I do a project, I always try to have someone on the like council or the decision makers that's like the accountant of the organization, or like
Oh, okay.
somebody
That's a
that's
great
like,
idea.
completely non-creative, no art directors, no designer, that it's someone that's just in HR or something. And that
Yes.
way I can say, hey, I want you to like literally sit and listen for the whole meeting because you probably won't have a lot of input on this, but I want you to synthesize and then give me your perspective on the other side.
Yeah.
And so as this talk is creativity for non-creatives, if you are in that non-creative, the creatives need you that you're working
Yeah.
with. They
Yeah.
need you. They need your perspective because we very often get trapped in our own brain, right, where we're just like flying through the sky. We need that person to say, "Hey, maybe you should come down for a second so we can have a conversation because it's a little
Yes.
bit crazy down here."
Yeah.
Um,
We used
I,
to do this all the time. We'd get people from accounting or from just the most 180 department from creative. And sometimes too, like, yeah, there'd be those people that would do it the way you mentioned it. And I love that idea of like synthesizing everything and waiting to the end. Like then you're crafting your response so beautifully, really, right? Like I love that idea. But also too, it's a fresh perspective
yes.
when it's someone from a different thing, and that will inspire the creative team to rise up as well, because they'll be like, whoa, we never thought that way. Or someone from a different part of the country or a different part of the world might have a different perspective. Same idea. If you're
Yep.
doing anything on that level,
Exactly. Yeah. And if you
diversify and
Yep, and Wade Acuff in the chat. Hi, Wade. Wade is one of our great mods here. So, hello, Wade. Welcome to the stream. Something else with this too is that if you are the non-creative or you are the creative, don't be afraid to speak up with your perspective. It's something that it can get thrown out. It can
yeah,
be not received, but if you don't share it, then nothing's going to change, right? Of at least share your thoughts. Don't be afraid to speak up and say, hey, what if we thought about it this way? Oh man, I have this different idea for it. Oh man, I wanted to approach it in some other way, because that goes back to iteration, right? That it creates more iteration for you to ask those questions, keep asking why, and try to force your perspective into the conversation, right? Maybe not as a that you want it to be of the conversation. Cool. So continuing on, I believe we have
excellent.
a couple more. This one is one that I think people like talk
Yeah,
about. Like this is the design creative industry equivalent of like the like live, laugh, love. Is this idea that you're like, oh, like progress is better than perfection, right? That we all talk about it, but I think that we forget it. And the way that I like to think
yeah.
about it is that better is better, right? If
Hmm.
you are one of the non-creatives, non-designer, that you're kind of just working, or whether you are the designer or the creative, better is better, right? It's not about finding the best solution. That's always a bonus, right? It doesn't have to be your magnum opus, the best thing you've ever made. If it's better than it was, then that's a win. My mom always used to
Yeah,
tell me that when we go into a space, you need to leave it a little bit better than where it was when we got there. And I always thought that that
yeah,
was a great perspective for projects, for collaborations, for working with other people, is that even if you make it a little bit better, then that's better, right? It doesn't have
yeah.
to be the best. It can just be
Yep.
better. Um,
Continual improvement, really, in a way, even if it's marginal and very small.
yep.
It's just it's like I like that idea of leaving something better than the way you left it. Like it's a great way to think about it,
Yep. And
you know.
Alexandra has a funny little quip. For this reason, I've been consulting with my husband, who's a non-creative, to get his perspectives about my work.
There you
I love
go.
that. Yes, I like to call those people the Gen Pop. That's the
Yeah,
general population that comes from when I was working at Comic Con. We would have like the VIP areas, and then they would go into the Gen Pop, which is the general population that just has
yeah,
different perspective. And so
totally
I try
different.
to find someone. Yeah, exactly. I try to find someone who is the Gen Pop, and who can I find that is my person. So if you're the creative, find yourself a non-creative that is the Gen Pop, send them this video, or maybe work with them on some of the concepts we've talked about, and that will be able to level up, one, their input and their experience with creatives, as well as the work
Yeah,
that you're creating, because you'll have a good different perspective.
I love it. Love it. That's
Um,
great.
so last wrap up, closing thoughts. Always ask yourself these three questions. If you're working on anything, whether it's creative or non-creative, what if? What if dot dot dot? What if this
Yeah,
was this? What if we actually approached it this way? What if? Never let yourself go with here's the solution, let's do it. Always ask what if, even if it's going to get shot down, even if you don't feel like you need to. do it.
Yeah.
Next up is and then. This is something that I've picked up from improv and comedy classes. Is if somebody does something, you say yes and then, and you continue on, and that way you'll hit right those cognitive barriers to say, oh, it needs to be this.
Hmm.
Cool, and then what's the next idea? What's the next thing that we can go into? And that's really that question that we want to keep asking and keep pushing into. And then the last is why is, and that's the asking that question of why, but why is this way? Why are we approaching it in this direction? Why is
Yeah.
this decision we're making? That will help give you perspective and also ammo to come back as you're working with people, creatives and non-creatives, to have a reason behind what you're doing.
Yeah, these are like cornerstones of things I use at the very either beginning or end of a lot of pitch decks with clients, because this works on all scale, right? Like the what if, you want to always have like that one crazy concept that like no one would ever even think of, and put it in there, even if it, like you said, even if it gets shot down. But the why is, I think that's another one that you can definitely play around with too, and then gives you that chance to expand and go past what they've asked you to do. So
Absolutely.
you're right. So you come off as this, wow, okay, they're thinking ahead. They got our thoughts and our kind of concerns in mind, and it just shows how much more you've thought of them and considered a bigger and better solution. Yeah,
Yes,
sounds awesome.
absolutely that. So continuing on again, our last slide. Next week we are starting our office hours fall semester. I'm so excited. Nick and I have worked and we have mapped out an entire semester for you. We'll be sharing the Creative Cloud library for you for that semester. You'll have a syllabus for things that we'll be doing as homework. We'll be having a community that you can join to work through, and it is a free online course. 2:30. We're shifting our time a little bit. Starting next
Yeah.
Friday will be our first day of school. So join us for that. I want to give you a little bit of a preview of the new branding you'll see rolling out. We'll be sharing on social media, so you can invite your fellow classmates.
All
You
your
could reach out
friends.
to your
Yeah.
universities. It is completely free, online, college level kind of course, talking about not just design, but creativity in general and how you
Everything.
can leverage some of the tools that we use as creatives, or that we use really, these Adobe products or mindsets or workflows, into leveling up your game to get those internships, to
Yeah.
really get everything that you need and maximize your potential. So you'll see this rolling out a little bit next week. I wanted to show it to familiarize you guys a little bit. If you see it show up on our social media,
Woohoo.
again, you can follow along. Up there at the top are
Yeah.
our social tags, and we'll be posting about it a lot in the next week so that you can get in and start working with us
Can't
on this
wait.
new fall semester. I'm so excited. Um, cool. So
We will be
let's.
taking roll.
Oh yes, yeah, we'll be taking
Right.
roll. If you're
Let's
tardy,
don't make-
if you're tardy, you'll be in
forget
big
about it.
trouble. I
Big trouble.
There are
But we're
definitely
gonna take
people
full
that.
advantage of. I was gonna say we're gonna take full advantage of this fact that we're all connected this way, and probably looking for other things to do in addition to it. So I'm gonna try to get all my students involved in this as well. But it would be great to get this, even as much as we planned it. We're gonna keep it as organic as we want to kind of change up and switch and do things that really make sense for the time. So it should be fun.
Yep, it's going to be a great time. And I want to tell you all about one more thing before we jump into our reviews today. I want
Yeah.
to talk about the Adobe Creative Residency Community Fund. It's a great fund that Adobe has launched. You can go to this link up here, which I'm sure Ahmad will drop in chat right now, and you can apply for a project. You can either propose a project that you want to do and get funding from anywhere from $500 to $5,000, or you can get a project commission
Amazing.
for up to $5,000 as well. I just finished my commission, which was super fun. I'm getting to work on some very top secret things, which will be shown in a little while. That's the top secret. I'm so bad at keeping secrets, so I need to stop talking. But
Stop now.
some exciting things are coming eventually, and it's super easy to get involved. There's a great thriving community of people that are in the program, so go apply today, and get into there. All right, let's hop in, Nick, and let's start doing
Yeah,
some
we're gonna go.
reviews. Let's start over with Saya.
Yeah.
Sia, our chick. Let's
I
try
think
that one.
Saya sounded pretty good.
Yeah,
Saya.
Saya.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, cool. So let's
Very
go in
cool.
there. And again, those of you who are just joining us who maybe haven't seen the show before, and I see a lot of regulars, but we try to give feedback to portfolios, to work that we see that can be applied across the board. If there's a concept that we think would apply to everyone, we love to call that out. So as we're looking at these, don't think about if you like the work or not. You can think that, but really try to take in the concepts that we're talking about and how you can shift and move your work to maybe make it a little bit better to reach a new audience, to communicate more clearly. So let's start with Sia,
Yes.
and let's look at the collage art, only because that's my zone.
Yeah.
That's my jam. Um,
Perfect.
yeah, so let's go ahead and hop in there. Oh my
Excellent.
goodness, I'm so into this. So the thing that I love about this is I love looking back into history. So this is inspired by the Dada movement. Specifically, this one looks like it's inspired by an artist by the name of Hannah Hawk. And this is
Mm-hmm.
again something that you can be inspired by everything. Look back into history and see things that could be interesting. And Sia is in chat. Hello, Sia. Got it. Sia is in chat, so welcome.
See ya. All
Um,
right. Welcome.
Nick, any thoughts on this work, on the presentation?
Yeah. I'm kind of digging the collage work. I don't do a lot of it, and I'm always appreciative of it when I see it. So I love the idea here. It's really really cool. I like the idea of the face having some different kind of uh, mask, let's say, on each one of them, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um, we even maybe mess around with some additional hand lettering could be a nice thing to drop in instead of maybe have like that one main font, but then those secondary ones could be almost written in like sketchbook style or something. Just a nice little change of pace, but it's very cool, really fun.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's interesting to me is some of these pieces are cool as like one-offs, but then once you get down to where this Helsinki,
Mm-hmm.
Finland is, it almost starts to turn into like this travel campaign. And to me, that's so
Yeah.
cool. Like it's such a good campaign.
Posters.
Exactly. So I would love to see these as posters. I would love to see them as social media posts. And I almost would retitle this and build a case study as if it was full agency campaign. Take out some of these ones that you have in the front, like the first three, I think, and then do a case study that is just this and sell it as if it is a campaign. So for those of you that have little pieces that are one off that you like to kind of
Yeah.
play, go ahead and put those together and figure out how can I sell this as a campaign, because a lot of things can be disjointed but still come together as if they look like they are something together. So I would
Oh my
definitely do
God,
that
yeah.
here.
This would be great. You could do posters, postcards, you name
Oh,
it, all different kinds
postcards.
of things for
Yes.
tourism, right?
Yep.
Wouldn't that be fantastic? And I like your idea of kind of editing this down and using just the ones that are international and turn that into a full blown case study. That'd be really
Exactly.
fun.
Yep. And I'm going to cut real quick into someone that I follow. Her name is
Cool.
Emily Poulin, and she has been campaign, much like that, right? We talked about converting that into a campaign. She's been working on a campaign that uses that same style to
Yep.
really show the diversity of how you can travel all these different places. Instagram is not doing great right now, so you know that. But you can check out Emily Poulin if one of the mods can find it. It is just Emily Poulin on Instagram. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and
Perfect.
actually look at the Jaipur, oh man, I can't say it. The city's literature festival that's right next to that. And what I want to
Let's
see
see.
here is how you've kind of
Yes,
converted
let's go to
it.
that one.
Yes. See how you've converted it to be more of a campaign, because it looks like this is what that is. Oh, this is literally what we told you to do. Yes, this is fantastic. This is great. This is what we talk
Oh
about
yeah, these are
every
beautiful.
time that we do office hours and look at portfolios to show
Wow.
in context. Um, I kind of think that none of these are real, but you've done really convincing job that like this is a whole thing down to the stage. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and read some of the copy that was at the top. Again, great job
Yeah.
at walking us through this, having some copy. Um,
Wow. This is great.
yeah, this is fantastic. Was this a project work? Was this actual client work? Where did this come from, and what is it? Let us know in chat, Sia, because I think that you are still here. It'd be great to show.
Yeah.
Yes, these. This is great. I don't really have any thoughts on this other than do this with that other
Ugh.
stuff, right? That it is so it's all places that she said she went before
Yeah.
quarantine, and
Yeah.
so I love that it has kind of the masks on there. I would really sell that, kind of step it up to see what could this be? How could we expand this into something new, something different?
Yeah.
So let's look at one more project and then move on to another. Let's look at
Sure.
the let's look at the linguapara.
Linguapara. I like that.
Linguapara, the first one
Beautiful.
on there right there. This is beautiful.
Ooh, this is really strong.
This is so
Love
it's
it.
an advertising campaign for a literature festival annually. Cool. All right, so let's. There's a boat outside my window. If you guys can hear that, it it happens every time. Cool. So looking at this again, the same thing that we usually say. I'd love to have a little bit of explanation, like you did on that other piece. Um,
Correct.
but this looks great. I love that you're showing a system, that you're looking at all the different pieces coming
Mm-hmm.
together. It's a great walkthrough. For those of you that are watching, we talk a lot about walking through, showing all the different elements. This is a perfect example of that, right? It's taking step by step through all the things that we want to talk about, that we want to
Yeah,
show, that we want to
great.
see. So great job with this. And this is the perfect amount of, I would want one explanation. And other than that, you have the perfect amount of holding our hand through there.
Yes. I
Uh,
think you're right. Just seeing a little more explanation of what it is. So we know, to me, it feels very almost like travel, transit, uh, train station vibe. It comes off a little bit like that, you
yes.
know?
Yep.
So I'd like to know a little more on what it is. I do love the mock-ups. The mock-ups feel nice and fresh, great color palette. Again, just I think you nailed it by saying this is like the perfect amount, ends with a video. Really well done. Really,
Yep.
really robust.
Yeah, and for those of you that want more inspiration in this style, this is really pulling from a style called the International Typographic style that was popular in the 60s. So it really was about clarity, it was about understanding, and especially iconography to communicate complex ideas in simple ways and then standardize across the board. So it looks like
Yeah,
you've taken a lot of inspiration from that. And yeah,
beautiful.
if you want to do some research, again, we're talking about being inspired by everything, do some research into the International Typographic Systems. All right, great job, Sia. Love that work. And she talked about,
Excellent
so
work.
that was her senior project, the one that we looked at. So that was a fantastic senior project.
Oh, nice.
A plus. All right, let's
Wow,
hop over
just
to
beautiful.
Sachi.
Hmm.
All right, Sachi. It looks like you have
Sachi
in there.
from
Yep,
India as well. All
there we
right.
go. I think we are all in India. I believe Ritesh is in Italy though. So we're in with our India
Yes.
friends with a little bit of Italy sprinkled in there. Cool. So Sachi, it says here, communication design, love to make illustrations, portraits, paint, read, and listen to music. I love animals and nature. I love that you have a little bit of like personal stuff
Beautiful.
in there as well. I think that that's great. So
Hmm.
let's look at some of the work. Nick, do you have
Yeah.
anything here that you really want to look at that looks interesting to you?
Ooh, let's go to College Street Cafe.
Cool.
It's a little brown paper bag.
Of course you're
All
going to the
right, let's go
packaging.
take a
I
look.
love that like there's one packaging thing
Awesome.
on there and Nick's like, let's do the
I always have
packaging.
to.
That's true. Ooh.
Let's do it.
All right, cool. So let's
Let's
hop
dig
in.
in.
I'm just gonna hit you right
Okay.
away. One, I really like this mark actually. It feels very like it feels very
Hmm.
like hieroglyphic to me, which I think is interesting.
It is.
It's very like
Totally.
symbolic. I love that. The one thing that gets me though is if you're gonna have texture on the typography, do it yourself. It looks like there's texture built into that font. And what gets me is because you have so many double letters, like the
Yeah.
two L's and then the two E's, the texture being the same on those always like drives me crazy.
And you
And
see it.
so yeah, exactly. So I just put some texture on that
Yeah.
that is a little more custom that varies them a little bit more. And then scrolling through here, the project
Yeah.
brief, do branding for packaging for a cuisine chosen Bengali cuisine, and theme Ada culture of Kolkata. Oh,
Yeah.
that's how you spell that? Oh, cool. Okay, so I love that you
Wow.
have really walked through here's what we're doing, here's the problem we're trying to solve, and here's how I'm going to solve it. And then it looks like you have a lot of explanation, kind of giving context to us. I think this is a lot of copy, but I also think it might be relevant to people that are moving in that aren't familiar with the problem you're trying to solve.
Yeah. It feels very stretched. I like there's a when you have the menu area, it's just menu and it's surrounded by it's an entirety of white, right? And I feel this can be a little more condensed if you kind of fit things in a little bit better, because it takes a few scrolls to get to some action here. And once you get there, I want to see that, and I love what you have. I'm going to probably start with the menu. I think the menu needs a lot of help. It's very text heavy. You've given a lot of space to bulky headlines where I feel like it could go to the content because the content is so small.
I agree.
Right. So you look at, you've got that huge area on the top, you have a huge area at the bottom, you have those big blank spaces in between your typography, because it looks like it's justified right where it kind of feels a little odd because you're doing that in columns. I would just refresh this. One thing I always tell students, if this is a student job and you're doing a menu like this, you don't have to have all those items. Edit the items down. If you have
Yes.
18 entrees, make it 7, and
Yep.
then let the font sing a little bit better. So that would be my main concern there. The packaging has some promise. I love when you bring in like the paper and it's wrapped
Oh
with
my
the
gosh, I
twine
love
and it's like
that.
cool newsprint. The cup, I would just make sure it feels like it could have slid on a little bit more. I feel like you're giving a lot of space around your logo, particularly on the bag. You could bring some of that
I
newsprint down a
love
little
it on
bit.
the bag.
Yeah. And you know what I mean? But you
Well,
got a lot of that space above the logo. And I feel like you could be maybe raise that up, center it a little bit, and add some more of those, that newsprint kind of idea coming through a little bit.
I do want the logo to move up a little bit, but I
Yeah.
love that technically like one side would be
The
blank and then the
contrast.
other side would be full
Hmm.
newsprint. I love the contrast of that, especially with the surprise of the wrap over. I think that's really interesting.
Yes.
I would incorporate more of the newsprint onto the cup. I think that that would be cool to just incorporate in
Exactly.
there.
Good
But
balance.
these mock-ups are great. I mean, I'm a sucker for
And these are
newsprint.
built.
Yeah,
These are built.
literally put
Yeah.
newsprint on anything, and I'll be like A plus. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
so yeah, it looks like these are built like you have physical manifestations of that. So
Yep.
what's happening down here at the bottom, that it kind of has a summation of different images. I want this more places. It was
Yes.
very scroll heavy to go
Yeah.
through, and this is for general populace. You want to have basically things that are whispers and things that are shouts. And your case study should be mostly like a conversation, right? Using your inside
Back
voice.
and forth.
They just
Yeah.
have like, hey, here's a couple things, here's a little thing to do, here's this or whatever, and like, check this out.
Yeah.
You need like
Bam.
one that, and it, right here, everything is yelling at me.
Yeah.
Every individual piece is like, look at me, look at me, look at me. Where there's some stuff that you might not want to yell at that. Um,
Yeah.
so great job. I love that. Let's do one more and then hop over and talk about
All right. Let's
Ritesh.
do it. You want to pick it?
Yes. Oh, yes. Let's look at um, let's look at this fish one, a brand book print
Sure.
campaign.
All right.
Ooh, no more straws. Oh, I believe this was another project that you had in there. Yep. So the brief design a solution, brand identity, and promotional campaigns for social cause for our choice in a brand book. Our cause is plastic straws affecting life underwater. Okay, you maybe have been watching Office Hours because you are doing great on these explanations. These are
Yes.
perfect going in.
Isn't that
Um,
awesome?
Yep. And then it looks like, so this is again the same thing, that there's so much space. We have this awesome, beautiful, like, check it out. And then we have, I think this is a letterhead that it looks like it's just a big white box.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the actual book. Okay, cool. So we're scrolling
Gotcha.
through the book. There's a lot of open. I would put this side by side to give that some context. And
Yes.
I don't think we need every page of the book. If you're going to do
Yeah.
that, use a service that is, an embedded PDF that you can kind of scroll through. A service like Issue, where you can upload and then have a digital way to scroll through it. Put some of the spreads and dimension
Yeah.
into a
That would be kind of
magazine.
cool.
So I think it's really good work. It takes too long for me to get into like what's happening here. Wow,
True.
this is really good
You
work.
don't have to just because you have a book. I get why you just put the pagination of it into this. It's like an easy fit. Here's everything. I'm not missing anything. But let's remember, we got to turn this into now a pitch, and it's a preview of what you did for this project. So maybe turn it more into a sellable item and show a little bit more of the process, how you got there. You have beautiful work. Again, it is that scroll heavy thing, right? It takes a lot to get to some of this stuff. And then it's just sitting there in a huge white field. So edit this down a little bit. And then, boy, you put this like a little just more compressed and get some of these to be bigger, more beautiful. I want to see full scale pictures
Yep.
side to side. Then we're going to be like, bam, what an impact.
And it looks like it's 20 some
Cool.
pages. And so
Beautiful work, though.
I could see five like spreads on good mock-ups to literally just have 5 magazine spreads on a mock-up showing
Yes.
your best 5 spreads, and then put a little gallery of some of the other pages at the bottom. And that's really all I need, because this is great work. There's just too much of it spread out too far away from each other.
Yeah,
Great. Well,
I totally agree.
great work.
But
Those are
whoa,
really good projects. It's really great
yeah,
work, just kind of refining and honing it in and editing down to really showcase the things so that you are yelling when you need to, but then the most of it is in a conversational kind of structure and
exactly.
hierarchy. Yep. All right, let's go ahead and look at Ritesh real quick. So
Love it.
Ritesh, we reviewed your portfolios at
All
CanceledCon,
right.
but I saw you saw you submit here, and so I wanted to take a look, give you some feedback. It was great work, and so really this is one that I wanted to show to our audience to say, hey, this is a great way to do this. This is
Audience,
a really
yeah.
good execution. So take notes, everyone, from our friend Ritesh. I want to hop in first to the ArchXP project.
Yeah.
And this is great, and this is kind of my preferred way to set up the projects, is to have a little blurb about what it is, what you're doing, right? It finishes with the identity portrays eternal architectural learning, right away.
Yeah.
Here's what we're trying to do, here's what this is, and here's why you should understand it. Shows a little bit of here's the logo, right? And then goes into keywords, target audience, scope of work. Here are the quick things that I did, and then starts building through process, right?
Yeah.
That's really what I want to see. And again, Nick and I always talk about either you don't have the process or it's taking too long for you to get to the big wow. This is the perfect amount of here's a little bit
Good
of
balance.
process and now big wow.
Yeah. That you have done gosh, did we see this one?
We did.
We did.
I
don't
freaked
remember
out
getting
about this.
or maybe he made some changes or something, but man, I love the applications because one, we're not just seeing the logo applied over and over again. We're seeing this really cool form with the envelope, and I love how it's got the little tie envelope. Then you scroll down, you got an application form. And again, just shows all the work that it wasn't just logo on this, logo on that. There were other elements created. Then you got the notebook, and then you've got the certificate of participation, this other little like mailer. Then you got the trade show stuff. If you're dying to find something else to make for your applications, trade show stuff, banners, graphics, anything else that will be at a convention or something like that. Here's a beautiful, I love your mock-up choices are perfect. Notice the unifying kind of yumminess of those backgrounds. There's something, I love it. It works with the yellow and blue so well. Gosh, in fact, there's one thing that stands out that feels a little odd, and it's the rose colored Mac on that one screen where he's got all the Macs open. Like I'm almost like
That's true.
His color is so perfect, and then I see that rose gold, but very picky. Otherwise, just so cool.
Yeah, the thing that I really like is it starts out, right? We've seen a lot of projects and a lot of portfolios that have kind of like, here's the logo, here are colors, and then it's slapped on a bunch of things, right? And so I love that it comes in and it is that. And then you're like, no, like I'm not just going to slap stuff on here. I'm going to show you in a system. Like here it is cropped off the side. Here's how I'm using the colors. Here's how it is, with just typography and extra accents, that you're really expanding that. And so that's what I love to see in case studies, is give me that boring stuff and then blow me out of the water. And you really did a great job there.
It's so confident. I feel like even when you have just simple type and your way you're laying it out, it's elegant, it's clean, it's got hierarchy. Just those little touches are making me feel like this is not student work. We always have those little checkoffs. What's making it feel like student? So beautiful job here, Ritesh. This is great.
Yep. So let's go ahead and hop into, of course, the one that Nick probably cares about, and that is the one that's the cans. It's the packaging design. So let's take a look at this one. And this, what I love is, right, we've seen a lot of case studies that just have type at the top. I love that you've treated it with a nice little treatment for that area at the top, a little header almost.
Exactly.
I did that on a few of my projects, that there is just an element at the top that's a nice header, right? That kind of brings people in.
Creating the mood. mood.
form. Yeah, it's creating the mood, right? You're
Yeah.
setting the vibe. And so you did a
Mm-hmm.
great job at that, kind of setting that up there. And then again, right into what we want to know.
Excellent. I love this idea of showing rebrands sometimes don't have to be full, complete new logos. It's just streamlining it. Like, look at the old logo. It has illustration, it has watermarks, it has 18 different drop shadows, it has gradations. But look at his rebrand. It's basically similar art, but just so much more clean.
Yep,
You
and
know,
and I love
this is great.
the communication here of like, oh, it's not a ton of process. It's not that I'm not like ideating and working. It's literally like, here's what it was, and here's how I made it better. Period.
And
Right?
always have a reason. See,
Yep.
he's got a paragraph reason for redesign. A lot of times we're not the right. If we have no idea why or any rationale behind a rebrand, we really can't comment or like give our opinion on it, right? Until you know that, because that's what's telling me what to think about, and that's what the company needed.
Yep.
So always remember that in a rebrand. But this just gets so beautiful. I love the carton itself. The cans look fantastic. Even the bottle. It's neat to see that it's coming in 3 different applications. So you can create a great brand. We can make a great bottle, but can you turn it into a can? Can you turn it into a carton? So he's shown how his artwork works on cylinders. It works on boxes. It's so flexible. It's
Yep.
really, really, and then seeing it flat. Don't you love that? I love
Exactly. Yeah,
that.
I was gonna
It
say
looks
if you're
great.
gonna show something on a can, show a version of like the entire can kind of like extruded out, and that's what you did here, which I
Yeah,
love that you can see the full design, that it has the element, but then it's almost rolled all the way out. Um,
exactly.
and again, it's a great job showing how the structure that you understand your visual communication, like
Yes.
stylistically, how everything is cohesive, how it really builds into a broader system. This is
Yeah.
what I love to see with projects like this. And the one that stood out to me is the one
Yeah.
with the grapes. That has the type on it. We've seen so many mock-ups, right?
Oh,
That are like
yes.
this awesome mock-up. It looks great. It's got the, photo in the background. And I love that you've added type on there because that's something that maybe you work with a copywriter, that you kind of collaborate to have. This is now an ad, and I
Yes.
understand that it's an ad. You want to sell it as if it is a real thing. So absolutely, great, great job. And Cody says, yes, I would definitely be drawn to this in the store. I agree. It is a great,
Oh,
great
yeah.
update.
I'm
It's
getting
a great
thirsty right now.
Exactly. It's a great execution of that solution as well. So great job, Ritesh. I absolutely love
Yeah.
it. Cool. So Nick,
This is great.
let's hop over
Yes.
and talk a little bit about what is coming next week. We have about 4 minutes, and I want to make sure that you guys are excited, that you
Yeah.
are in, that we're see you again at next week. Nick, do you want to talk a little bit about what office hours is going to be for our fall semester? Sorry, Nick,
Yeah. So
are you
we've put
there? Oh,
together
got it.
quite a little. Yes. Are we good?
We're good.
Oh, okay. My
Go
lack
ahead.
of my lack of internet is really hurting here.
It's all good.
We are setting up an entire semester, and what we've done is we've really kind of put together not only instruction and great things to do as a collaboration, but giving you homework each time. And then we're going to be having a Discord channel to put everything on there to review. You guys can see everybody's work as well. But the whole point of this is really to give you guys just one extra level of education wherever you're at right now and whatever you're going through. So we have something to kind of really look forward to on Fridays.
Yep.
That's what I'm going to be thinking. How about
Absolutely,
you?
yep. So class all the way. I'm really excited. And yes, Cody just dropped in there a Bitly link that will take you to a survey that will let us know your engagement, what you want to see from the class, just to give you a little preview of some things that are coming up this semester that I'm very excited about. We're starting out next week again. 2:30 p.m. is our new standard time. So 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard. Set that on a calendar. Just set it reoccurring until the end of the
Go for it.
year. And our first one, we are doing our first day of school. We're going to be going over the syllabus, really bringing you all into the fold. And from there, some exciting ones that we have, we're going to be talking about copywriting one of the weeks, right? We're not really talking about specifically design. We're going to branch out and talk about copywriting. The course is really for all kinds of creativity and for you to make use of Creative Cloud if you're not, and then to
Yeah.
just level up the way that you're engaging this semester. We have coming up near Halloween, we have 2 Halloween episodes. One is the terrors of the time you're wasting. And we're going to show you some hands-on tricks and treats. Ooh, that's fun. Hands-on tricks
Oh,
and treats. I'm
and
going to
treats.
change the
There we go.
description for
Oh,
that.
gotta change
Yep, for you to speed up your
that.
process. We have a very special Halloween spooktacular coming to you. We will be spending time figuring out who has inspired us, where we can find new inspirations, and then reaching out around Thanksgiving to thank them for their inspiration and connect with someone in the creative community, because it's so
There you
important to
go.
have that mentorship, to have the feedback, and to really just connect with the creative community. And then, of course, at the end, we will exam for you to turn in. We'll talk about that next week, what your assignment will be. And each week we will have some homework for you. We'll have you making client questionnaires, working in Adobe XD, working on your portfolios. So
Yes.
lots and lots of fun homework, assignments, and some good feedback from us on the show. So we're super excited to have you set those reminders on your calendars. Make sure you go to that survey, fill it out, and let us know that you will be attending. Nick, any closing thoughts for this week moving in to the next week?
Yeah. Wow, this is like a end of one chapter, the
It is.
beginning of the next one next week. I'm kind of excited. We're bringing this to you guys like big time. This is gonna be something really extra special. Honestly, we're so excited about doing it. I think it's making up for the lost time that a lot of us might be getting in class. So I can't wait to get this thing started. And if it makes a difference. I want to see what you guys get out of this. So many of the great things we've planned, including like getting your elevator pitch down and LinkedIn stuff and resume stuff. So we got so much stuff to do. It's gonna be a blast.
Yep, and make sure you stay tuned. Again, follow Nick and I on Behance or here on Behance or on Instagram, and then follow also Adobe Awards. We'll be posting assets for you to have so that you can make your own promotions. You can
Yes.
tell friends that you are enrolled in class, that you'll be taking it, and invite them to take it with you. So follow along on social media. We'll be posting that this week, and we will see you all again next week
Yeah.
on Adobe Office Hours for our fall semester. Bye.
Whoa.